Most wanted.
Yo, I bring the force to the stars like I'm Darth Vader. When it comes to the bars, eyes are far greater. When I rip up the track,
Yes, guys, I'm Ty. Welcome to Podcast Nation, and we're here for another episode of my story here at A.C.E Media. Big thanks to them, as always, for hosting me and my guest, of course. And delighted to be joined by a man described by t-rev as the Godfather of the scene.
That's some big boots to fill, that, isn't it? Big up t-rev.
Indeed. Rob Picton, also known as Joe Blow. How are you, my friend? You good?
All good, man. All good. Hot.
Yeah,
it's going to be a day. Yeah.
We're going to be skinny by the end of this.
Even though I could do with losing a couple of pounds ready for my holiday.
That's it.
Just that beach body.
Yeah, just do a couple of hours in, you'd be sorted.
Inside sauna, man.
Yeah, it's good though. It's good. It's warm. But so we're just going to have a chat, mate, about a bit of everything, really. Like, I know you've been very busy lately, which you're not allowed to talk about, so that's fine.
Yeah, bits and bobs, you know.
But I'm sure that'll be very exciting when it comes about.
Yeah, no doubt, man, no doubt.
But we can't talk about that.
So. Yeah,
good start. Always a good start, isn't it?
Always a good start, yeah. But I'm busy.
Yeah, I'm
staying busy, staying active, and like, you know, I think if you stay busy, more things tend to happen, like, you know.
Yeah,
because
100%.
It comes to you, like, you know.
Yeah.
Gotta stay busy. If you're sitting around doing nothing, waiting for things to fall in your lap, 9 times out of 10 you ain't gonna get shit, like,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
Waiting a long time, and you.
That's it.
Still, I do sit around a lot. But most of the time is talking to people, though, in fairness.
That's it. Well, that's your job, innit, bro? That's how you roll, man.
So, obviously, you've had your hands in many pies over the years, mate, and a bit of a story. So I'd like to hear that. So we'll go back to the kind of very beginning, I guess.
Back to the beginning.
Yeah. What was you like as a kid, and where you grow up, and all that sort of.
I grew up in
jazz.
Barry, just outside of Cardiff. Always been into music and stuff, like, you know. My older brother Simon, he's
good name.
Yeah, good name. Yeah, true. Shout out to my brother Simon. He turned me on to music. Really, he had a vast record collection, and when he used to go to work, obviously I'd come home from school and he'd still be out, so I'd be in his bedroom going through his records and playing his stuff on his record player, like, you know.
Yeah.
And I come across a record by Run DMC called My Adidas. He had it on 12-inch, and Run DMC were on the front. They had these Raiders jackets and the hats, like, you know, the trainers with no laces, and like, it just spoke to me, like, you know, just looking at the fashion, the sound, everything, like, you know. I think from that point on, I was sort of like hooked on hip hop. It gave me the bug, sort of thing, like, you know. And before you knew it, I was looking through his records, finding instrumentals and plugging the headphones in and rapping over the instrumentals, like, you know, and recording it on a double tape deck. Yeah. Remember the hi-fis with the glass doors?
Yeah, man.
To open them out. Yeah, well, I started doing like pause mixtapes on that when he was out. Eventually, my mother got me my own system, so I could do it on a boombox then, like, you know.
Mate, the kids don't know they're born today. Like, to make a mixtape back in them days, Jesus Christ, you'd take you days, because you had to listen to every song all the way through.
Oh, yeah,
pausing it, recording it,
that's
all that
it,
sort of
man.
Stuff, mate.
Yeah, trying to get them blends, like, you know, on the pause mixes.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
When I was like, it's weird, like, so when I was like probably, I don't know, young, like 8, 9 and stuff, I used to love all that shit, like radios and microphone and that, and I'd do all sorts of shit, like whether it was talking over football or top 40 shit, like just doing all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
But I never really had an interest in it as I got to a teenager, and then I ended up
back doing it
as an adult. Like,
that's life, and you go around in circles, man.
Oh yeah, 100%. Big circles. What was you like as a kid? Were you hard work? Were you easy work?
I wasn't too bad. So I mean, I was always getting into fights and stuff in school, but that's because
no internet then, no mates.
That's it, yeah. And like I was a bit different to the other kids, like, you know. Obviously, because of my love of hip hop and all that sort of thing. I was from a predominantly white area, so like white kids into hip hop and that, especially back then. Yeah. Like you're talking like late 80s, you know, it was pretty much unheard of, especially if you were touching the mic and doing your own rhymes and all that sort of stuff, like, you know. So like there was a little bit of hatred going on, calling me wigger, all this sort of thing. So obviously I was getting into fights in school and stuff like that, like, you know. So I was never far away from trouble.
Yeah. When you were younger then, did you have that pushback, or should I say when you got a bit older, did you have that pushback from like the music scene as well, as you started to want to push into it more?
I wouldn't say so,
it was more
really.
just kids?
It was more like in school and stuff, because by the time I started developing my own music and what I was coming out with, I'd already like progressed from hip hop into what was evolving into the rave scene, and what was becoming jungle, techno, jungle, and all that. And I was out DJing more then, like, you know. But it wasn't until probably late 90s I started going back into the hip hop with a crew of boys. We commonly known now as Squid Ninjas, Scammer, Heckler, Meta Beats, all the crew, them, Ral, Joe Barker. So I sort of went back in and used the knowledge that I'd acquired through making drum and bass and all that sort of stuff, and put it back into the hip hop, like, you know. So I didn't really release anything on vinyl. I think my first vinyl come out on Dial-Up Records in about 2005. So we were like sharpening our skills up and getting us to a level where we could release music and it'd be quality, like, you know, rather than like a mixtape sort of standard.
Was that exciting, first vinyl?
Yeah.
Someone whose initial interest in music came from vinyls.
Absolutely, yeah.
You must have been loving that.
I gone full circle and I finally had something on wax.
Yeah.
That was authentic. Like, we made CDs and, you know, done tapes and all that, but it just didn't have the same feeling as taking the wax out and sniffing it and, you know, the smell, like, you know, the acetate and all that sort of thing, like, you know. Like, I made records before on vinyl, but they were drum and bass ones.
Yeah.
And they weren't like releases, they were like acetates, like test presses.
Okay.
So say, for instance, like, I used to go to a studio called Grassroots with Q and Guy, and I'd make music in there with them, record it onto that, and then I'd go up to London, up to Music House, and we press the dub plates. I think they were like £30 a pop, like, you know. I'd come back and I'd be DJing in the Hippo Club. So the drum and bass nights they were putting on. So we're talking like 95, 96. So I'd go up there, get them pressed, and I couldn't wait to get back to Cardiff just to test out my tunes on the dance floor, like, you know. So it was a little bit of a different thing, like, you know, releasing music as opposed to bringing stuff out on dub plate, like, you know.
Yeah. I was telling my oldest son about a Hippo Club the other day, actually. We drove past where he was.
It's a shame, man, to see them skyscrapers there now, because
it's depressing, mate.
That place was like the centre of the universe if you were into dance music, like, especially in the 90s, like, you know, it was the main place, like, you know, such a vibe. I caught
like pretty much like the end of it more, because of my age. I was like, I think first time I went there I was quite young, it's like 16, 17, but then didn't go back for ages. I think that one night it just happened that we were out late and everywhere else was closed, like, so
one of the latest clubs, but absolutely,
as things progressed, like as I got older and that, and I was more into dance music and other things, it's just like, and you want to all-nighter.
You want to go out and pop pills and dance the night away, innit?
That's it, mate. That was just
that
like
was the vibe,
weekend,
wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was the vibe back then in the 90s, man.
But like, it was weird though, because when I remember the one time I'd been there, and I went back to like school or whatever, like the weekend afterwards, and the week after, and like said to my mate or whatever, I went to the Hippo Club, was Saturday or Friday, it was wicked, like, blah, blah. And he's like, and he was saying, there's always fights in there, blah blah blah. But you know what? Every time I went in there, after that, like when I was a bit older, never had no trouble in there. I had much more trouble, because you know what it's like pissed up guys, as a bloke, it's just, you come across it, and it's like just one of them things. I had less hassle in there than anywhere else.
Everyone was all lived up on pills and that, wasn't
Everyone's your friend, mate.
Yeah, that's it. I think those vibes are sort of gone these days from the raves, like, you know. Things are a bit different now, like.
Yeah.
Everyone's living like the camera phone culture and just videoing everything and not like living for the moment sort of thing, like, you know. The vibe's different. It's like a dead vibe these days in comparison, like. I know I'm sounding like an old man now, harping on, but it is true though.
It
like,
is, man, because
it is true.
When, like, what's the first thing people do these days if something happens, or like you're having a good time or whatever, you go for food, it's like they get their camera out, like, whereas we've grown up on no internet and no camera phones and stuff, so you're just in the moment all the time, and I kind of miss that for my kids, especially, like, they're 18, 16, 14, they don't know any different.
That's it, that's
and
the
like,
life they know, isn't it?
I don't know, like I look back on my childhood and it's just fucking awesome. Like,
Yeah, I do, man. I do look back.
Just from like just the young days of just like playing football all day and just disappearing down the summer holidays,
Yeah.
and then getting older and like, smoking and getting into trouble. And it was all fun though.
It was all fun and games, wasn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah, yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, I used to love it. I used to love nothing more than like looking your MTV Raps, looking for the latest tunes that come out on the show. Like, do you know what I mean, recording them all on VHS, listening back to them through the week, and then going to Cardiff trying to find those records that were played on the TV. So you'd be going to like Cardiff Market, you'd be in Catapult, you'd be HMV, you'd be going to Spillers, you'd be going to all the shops, just digging through trying to find that one. Like, I didn't care if it was tape, CD, vinyl, whatever,
Just
whatever format I could get it on, I'd get it, like, you know. And then we'd be going out in the nights. I'd be taking my boombox out, we'd be setting up somewhere, getting pissed on, like, you know, 15 years of age, like, you know, and that was the vibe, man. They were good times, like, you know.
Yeah, they could just go and like just go and sit in the field, whatever, like, and just have a good time.
Well, I see, yeah.
But like, there's not even that many fields anymore. They were like
true.
the fields where we used to go round the back of Morganstown. It's all houses, like.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
And it's just
It's a lot like that now. Yeah.
And like, you go anywhere, like my kids were saying, like, if you go anywhere like parks in the nights, just you get the police to come move you on straight on.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, you know,
times have
keeps
changed.
my kids out of trouble, like. But
yeah, of course.
when I look back on, like, the good times and the happy memories that we had, it's like, not necessarily getting into trouble, but just having like a good laugh and a good time.
Well, that's it, yeah. Like, we all used to be out on our BMXs, like, you know, drinking cider on the fields, like you were saying it. On the Schofields of Barry Boys is where we all used to go, like. And, yeah, we'd be out till all hours. But, like, as we got older, obviously the rave scene was kicking in.
Yeah.
Like, we wanted to set up our own parties and stuff like that then, like, you know. So it was literally a case of, like, my dad, he had his own firm. He used to hire out vans. So I knew he'd be out on the piss on a Saturday. He'd finish work half day. He'd be down the pub all day and then he'd be out. So I knew if I'd gone down that garage, there was no chance of him catching me nicking any of his vans. So I used to go down. I didn't even have a driving licence. Do you know what I mean? Used to go in there, get the keys, open the garage up, take a van out, drive up to my mate's house, you chuck the system in the back, drive down to the beach then, and that beach in Barry, get the system out.
Still my favourite
Boom.
beach, mate.
Plug it in, and then the raves would be happening, like, you know what I mean? Hundreds of people down there, like, all the nightclubs would close, they'd all come down and they'd have their dose of drum and bass jungle, like, you know. That was the good days. We were only kids, we were 16, 17 coming in, like, you know. Like, you can't do that no more. Criminal justice, all that sort of shit's going on. Like, they'll take your shit away if you try doing illegal raves now. You know what they're like, they don't last long.
No. And the thing is as well now is like they spend more time trying to break up something like that, like a group of young people at a beach, say, just having a few beers and a bit of music and whatever, and just not really, you know, it's all their own mates in it, so they're not causing no trouble really. They're just having a good time, good vibes in it, and then but they spend more time trying to break that up than they do. You phone them and tell you've been burgled and see how long it takes them to get to your house. Like.
The way I see it though, I think it's counterproductive, like, you know, because I spend a lot of time speaking to the police when they come down. Like, obviously, they used to get complaints. Yeah. And where we were based down the Nap, which is like a posh area of Barry. It's like where all the solicitors live and all the high-end coppers, all the big houses, all the money's there, like, you know. So obviously they're getting pissed off because there's a bunch of kids down there doing raves down the beach and they can't go to sleep at 3-4 in the morning, which is understandable in hindsight. But when you're young, you don't give a fuck. You know, you're just out to have a party sort of thing. And I speak to the police and they'd be like, in all honesty, we're glad that everyone's here because we know where everyone is. All the crooks, all the car thieves, everyone are all down your rave, like down the beach. So the crime rate in Barry drops. Do you know what I'm saying? It had that sort of impact on the town. But I know everyone's milk was getting stolen on the way home from the rave, so you see the milkman dropping the milk bottles off and everyone be stealing the milk and running off with the milk, like, you know. But hey, fun times, man.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it?
It is,
like,
yeah.
It's like, the way I look at it is like, it's harmless fun. Like, I get it, like you say, with the people who live by there and that, they're always going to complain and stuff.
Of course they are.
It is what it is. And look, if someone was sat outside my house now and I had to be up in the morning, or my missus got to be up in the morning, and the kids have got school or whatever, I'm probably going to get pissed off.
Same.
But it's just it's full circle, mate.
We were the Rave menace, man.
Yeah.
I think that's what they called us. They put us in the Barrian district when they closed us down. And my cousin Wezza, I think he took the brunt for it. He took the fall for the whole thing, like, you know. You got named and shamed, like.
Saying that, the last time when we lived in St. Mellons a few years back, my it was like the neighbours were having a few beers, and it wasn't like anything particularly like, it was getting like, it was like a Monday or something, and I think she had like work and school and all that shit, and she was like, oh, it's 2 o'clock, and it got to like 3, half 3, and she was like, you're gonna have to just go and say, can you just turn the music down a bit or something, because the kids keep waking up.
Yeah, you can't be waking kids up and all that
But
sort of thing, can you? Like, you know.
And I went over there and I come back about fucking 2 hours later, pissed up, and I was like, oh yeah, they've turned the music down. She was not happy. She was not happy.
You went partied with them, yeah?
Yeah, just had a few beers. It was just like, because they were so happy to see me, like, because they didn't cotton on that when I knocked the door, they didn't kind of cotton on that I'd come to say, can you turn the music down?
They just thought you come from a bubble.
So they just like, come in, do you want a beer? Yeah. Oh, I'll have one.
Go on, might as well. Twist my arm, innit?
She's just slyly trying to turn the music down in the corner. But
that's the thing with the kids, isn't it, man? You know, your missus is going to be pissed off if you're keeping the baby up. You know, if my missus gets pissed off, I just want a quiet life, innit? So whatever it is to make her happy, I'm going to do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%. It's just one of them, innit? With them, like, do you have any other interests when you was younger apart from music, or did it fast become?
I used to do a bit of karate. Used to do Shinkai. Done boxing, boxed for a few years. Done rugby, used to play rugby for Barry, like, you know. But as soon as I hit the rave scene and like I was out, that was it, man. It was a distant memory, like, you know.
Yeah, I do. I can imagine. Like, it's like, it's a weird thing, innit? Because I think with like what you do is when you first get into it, you're kind of at that age, those like formative teen years or whatever, when you know, you'll have a drink and you'll smoke and whatever, and when you come back, if you've got a real interest in music, they kind of go hand in hand anyway.
Yeah, of course they do.
But then, if you've got like an interest in making music as well, I think it's even closer. Like, and it becomes
step again, yeah,
100%. Because like, you know, like I used to spend so much time listening to music, like all the time, and like sometimes I think I get a bit frustrated now where I don't listen to music as much. I listen to it in the car mainly, you know.
Yeah, like, that's probably one of the main places I listen to it now.
Podcasts like have kind of taken over, like,
exactly,
you know?
Yeah, man.
But I try and make time for it. But like when I was younger, that was all I would do. I'd rather put music on a lot of the time and watch TV. But I was never able. I tried like a few times. What I tried guitar, keyboards. I tried like a bit of mixing, and it was just shit, man. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah,
like I didn't have that like musical ability. Like I'm good at some stuff, and I was good at football, and I was good at like cricket and shit, and some other bits and pieces. I was good at doing drugs, good at drinking.
I think we were all good at doing drugs, especially back then. But like, we were good.
Yeah. Late 90s, early 2000s, it was good times, isn't it? But like, it's like I just didn't have that musical ear, but I had that interest in it. I always remember we had. Do you remember those? I think it was like, must have been PlayStation 1, maybe 2, where they had those music games, like the mix games where you could make like,
what were they
called,
man? Music something.
Yeah,
I remember when my mate Brad Goff, he was making tunes on it. Like some of the tunes he made on that were fucking unbelievable.
Well, this is the thing. If you had that like talent for music, you could make some unbelievable tunes on it. Like I remember one of the boys made some like a house tune on it. It was so good. We used to just play it like all the time. Just this tune he'd made. But like I tried a few times, it was just fucking. It's like a 2-year-old made it. Like.
Yeah. No, it's a skill, and I think you develop it like, you know, over a period of time. I don't think anyone's instantly good at doing something.
No.
You got to hone your skills. Like, you know, like when I first started DJing, I could mix for shit. Like, you know.
Do you reckon you got to have patience for it?
Yeah.
I think that's why I didn't have for it.
I think because I had so much of a passion for music, I wanted to be able to nail it. Like, you know.
Yeah.
So like my first set of decks. I must have been about 15, I think, when I bought my first turntables. I bought them off my cousin, and like they didn't even have pitch. they were just normal Memorex belt drive turntables, start and go, you know, and a mixer, and that's all I had. So I didn't understand how to slow them down and all this sort of thing. I was trying to work everything out for myself because I had no one to show me, you know. And it wasn't until a couple of years later when I upgraded, and I think I went to Sound Labs then, Direct Drive Sound Labs, and they had the pitch on there, and I finally managed to land the mix, like, you know, rather than just trying to wind it up with my hand, like, you know, to keep it in timing, like, you know. So then from there I went and got the Technics, and you know, I developed my mixing capabilities, like, but that didn't happen overnight. I probably took about two years of teaching myself before I thought I was an acceptable level to like actually go out and play outside of the bedroom, like, you know, and start networking with other people out of Barry, like, you know.
How did it go from kind of you teaching yourself to doing it in your house or whatever, to then going to DJ at places?
Just doing the raves, really, like, you know, down on the beach. They were like the first parties we ever done, like, you know. Just thought, it'd be a good idea to set a beach up and, you know, have a little party down the beach, and it just went from there. Because people who were there before me, like, it wasn't like I invented that rave, that party. I sort of took it over from the generation who were there before me, like, you know, like Chishka and Warren and all those sort of boys from Barry, like, you know. So we were the next generation coming through. So there was a scene like already sort of there for that party in the summertime, you know. But yeah, I think it's just part of the journey, like, you know, just being able to like enjoy it and, like I say, have passion for it, like, you know. If it's shit, it's shit, but you've always got room for improvement, like, you know what I'm saying? If you've got a passion for it, like.
Yeah,
you know?
I think that's the thing, and I think that was the thing for me, is I quite liked it, but I didn't have the passion for it, the same passion I had for like football or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Because then it's not a chore to learn it. Like practicing and fucking it up and practicing again, it's not a chore if you just like, that's all you care about. Like,
that's all you're doing, yeah.
But you gotta have that passion for it.
You
can't force it, mate. Can you?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right, man. That's right. Yeah, I think from there we started doing pirate radio. There was Inner Bass, 106.5 FM. I was based. I was in Ely.
Yeah.
I think who come down.
So where did you do that then?
That was in Ely, in a guy called Flinny's house. Flinny was like this electrical wizard, like, you know, like there was nothing he couldn't do. He made this pirate radio like transmitter out of a biscuit tin and like loads of like little electrical circuits and shit. Like, the guy was a genius. There's like a story going around that he shut down all electric in Cardiff. You give Cardiff a power cut, like, you know. This is sort of wizard he was, like, you know. But like the signal went out quite far, like, you know, and it was quality as well, man.
So what sort of year would that have been?
When we done pirate radio, gotta be like 94, 95, I would have said, like.
Yeah, see, like there wasn't no internet there and digital radios.
No,
and
there was
shit
nothing like that.
Like, you know,
like
that
I
was full blown analog, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, well I picked it up in my car, man. Like, I remember
that is mental.
I picked it up in my car, driving through Cardiff, coming home from record shopping one day, just going through the stations. I thought, what the fuck's this? It was jungle. I was like, shit, man, this is the music I've been out buying, you know.
Yeah.
There's more people out there in Cardiff into it as well. You know, I wasn't really aware of the scene outside of my own circle, like, you know. Yeah. And I went around trying to find a signal, because the signal was better in certain areas. So I knew I was getting close to where that signal was coming from. So I'm driving around Ely, and I'm like, man, it's banging by here. So then I'm hanging out the window going, yo, who does this radio in Ely, bruv, and all that, like, you know. And next thing you know, they're doing a night in the Savoy in Barry. It was Flinny, Bounty on it, sorry. It was Flinny, Dark D and Bongo, and a guy called Racist had put it on, like, you know. And that's where the link was made then. And I started going up the pirate radio station and DJing up there with them on a pirate radio. And I met a lot of people, like, who were my best friends to this day through that radio station, like, you know, like T-Bone. You know, he's a legendary drum and bass DJ, like, you know. He's one of the godfathers of drum and bass jungle in Cardiff, like, you know. I met him, I've been friends with him now for like, wow, coming up 30 years, like, you know, all off the back of being at the radio, like. Yeah. So yeah.
So how long did you do that for? How long did they do that for?
They've done that for a while, man. I think the crew sort of fell apart. People started drifting, and then it went over to it was internet based then. When by the time it got to the 2000s, it had turned into internet based. With different people running it. You know, so it wasn't essentially
Wasn't
the same thing,
then,
like,
yeah.
you know.
Changes, don't it?
But
when
it
people-
did carry
different
on
people-
for a while. Like I know some of the youngest that had, they took it over, like people like Rapid and all them boys, like, you know, they were all Ely lads too, like, you know.
Yeah, and I think like as the internet became more prevalent, it became a bit easier to do that sort of thing, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
But also, I think the difficulty in being able to do it, and that guy's electrical wizardry, being able to do it, that almost makes it even more, like, makes it special, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
it was like you had this pirate radio station, you didn't have like a big, you know, like a real radio or whatever, or like whatever the other, you know,
He's
Red
had some
Dragon
big
and-
ass aerial on the
Yeah.
roof of his house, and we were all DJing in
Just
his
using
living
what you
room
got,
with
like-
him and his missus, like,
Yeah.
yeah. He had a set of decks in there, and like everyone would come in, and they'd be doing their hour sets, and you know, it was a community, so to speak, like, you know. But yeah, man, they were good days looking back on them, like, you know.
I'd be so interested to know like how many people used to tune into it and that, innit?
Yeah, well,
'Cause I suppose they
we
would
used
have
to
been
put parties on, obviously.
Yeah.
We put parties on. Like, those guys there from the radio, they come down to the Nat Beach, and they were putting on raves down there with us, like, we were doing them in unison, like, you know.
Mhm.
We teamed up sort of thing. And we'd advertise on the radio, and those raves would be packed most weekends, like most of the clubs are closed from Cardiff, surrounding areas, even people from coming down from Bristol and that.
No.
You know, we had some good DJs sitting up as
Wicked,
well,
man.
like, you know, like Easy Groove and that, like, you know.
Yeah.
He used to come down and, like, yeah, man, it was a vibe. But like I say, the police come and fucked it all up. It ain't gonna go on forever, like, is it? You know,
No.
they come and shut that
But
shit
that's
down.
what makes it special when you look back on it. Is like it was like a small window in time, innit?
Yeah,
Where it's just
yeah,
like
absolutely.
you got away with it for a few weeks or whatever, or months.
Yeah, you would see a couple of crazy things happening there, like, you know,
Exactly.
like you see some joyriders turn up in a Nick Cosworth, and they be fucking doing donuts at the top of the fucking beach, like, and then driving the car down the Pebbles. I remember they drove it down the Pebbles,
You know.
trying to push it into the drink, but like the sea was out, the tide hadn't come in, so they just lit it up on the beach end, like, do you know what I mean? And it was fucking madness. There was a few fights, like Barry boys fighting with Cardiff boys, and
Always gonna
windows
get
going
that,
through
aren't
on
you?
the cars, like, you know, a few scraps. But listen, you can have that sort of thing in a nightclub anyway,
Yeah,
like, it
that's
don't
stuff
matter
from
where
Cardiff
you are.
every Friday, mate.
Exactly.
Especially like I think, like not so much with people like our age now. Like if we went for a beers or whatever in town or whatever now,
Yeah.
like and you stayed out all night, you might bump into a few dickheads or whatever. But predominantly it is like 18 to like 25-year-olds, generally speaking, because it's kids who have kind of grown up going to different schools and different areas, but they kind of know where each other's is and that. And
Yeah,
they clash.
they
That's what
clash.
happens, isn't it?
That's it, man. That's it. Too much testosterone, like, you know.
mate. But it's weird, like, because, like, when I grew up, it was like all the high schools around fucking hated each other. Like, if you seen them, it was just on site all the time.
Guaranteed. Barry boys ain't it say.
But then we'd go play football with half of them on a Saturday, and you'd all be in the same
Yeah,
team.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
mental, like.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
But like all my kids, like they're all teenagers. They're all mates. Like
Yeah.
across. I don't know whether it's the internet or whether it's just
Yeah, I think that's probably is what it is, like, you know.
because they.
People can
You just
connect now
connect,
on
yeah.
network, can you? It's different times now, like, you know.
Yeah, whereas back then it was like you might play football on a Saturday, but you might not speak to that person very much.
Exactly.
You might
yeah,
just go
yeah.
and play, and then that's it.
And that's it, sort of
Whereas
thing, like, yeah.
like they can speak to each other constantly, innit?
That's
So I
it,
suppose,
yeah, in each other's inboxes. Like.
some great scraps with it, like in high school, like just with Cantonian and
Yeah, I lost my teeth in school, man.
approval.
That one come out second year of the comp. Sure, yeah, second year of the comp, man. With a kid called Leighton Kellaway, man. Yeah. And I swore it was because he had this gold ring on. He was like, nah, man, it wasn't my ring. It was my knuckle that done that, man. You know what I mean? Picking his chest up, man. But yeah, what a fight that was. I remember we locked the band off so the teachers couldn't get in there. It was in the school band, like, out in the fields. And, like, we locked it down so the teachers couldn't get in. And we were fighting in there for about 20 minutes. I can't even remember what it was over. Someone said something
Probably
about
something
someone.
stupid,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was something trivial, like, you know. But yeah, man, it's fucking crazy days.
Yeah, that's it, mate. Like I feel quite blessed, I do, because my kids so far have stayed out of trouble. Like they're all good, and like it's weird, isn't it? Because I look at it in some ways, I think, they missed out on loads. But then I think then the parent in me kicks in, and I'm like, yeah, I'm glad they're not doing the same shit I was doing.
Exactly. Like, I got
weird,
kids.
isn't
I got kids myself, and, like,
they ain't miserable. I got to be clear about that. My kids are not miserable. They're just not doing the same crazy shit that I used to get.
Yeah, that's the difference, man. No, I'm lucky with my kids. They've all turned out pretty good, like, you know, not following in my footsteps.
Yeah. So here's a question, and I'm like me, you've led a colourful life of different stuff over the years, yeah? Some good, some bad.
Yeah,
some
highs and
between,
lows,
yeah.
roller coaster rides.
And it's like, I'm sure, like me, you ain't proud of everything you've done.
No.
And do you reckon that has made you a better parent?
Yeah, it's made me more aware. Do you know what I mean?
Because you know what to look out for one.
Well, yeah, you know what to look out for, you know what to expect. I remember when I was a kid, it was easy to palm my mother off and tell her a story, like, and she wouldn't be none the wiser. She wouldn't understand what was going on, like.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, we're all going to each other's houses, cooking up bong mixes, and
in the kitchen while they're in the house.
Flame burns in your fucking t-shirt and all that, like, and your mum's like, "Well, what's all that in your t-shirt?" "Oh, nothing, man, don't worry, it's good." Do you know what I mean? I know what that is, but obviously kids don't even smoke Rocky no more. But like, they come home stinking of skunk, I know they're blazing. Do you know what I mean? It's that simple, isn't it?
It's harder with vapors, with vape though, isn't it? Because there's no smell.
Yeah, that's it. Different times.
Yeah, that's it, mate.
If you wanted a vape, you had to go to Amsterdam.
Yeah. I remember, like, when I got to 6, so my old man died when I was 16. So like, when after that, I was just like, I went a bit off the rails. But also, my mum kind of gave me like free rein. Like, she was just so soft on me, like, because
just wanted you to be happy.
Yeah, 100%. So she knew I smoked anyway, but she didn't know I smoked weed, and to show like how like completely clueless my parents were in terms of what we used to get up to and what they just thought. Like, I'd be allowed to smoke like in the garage, and then I was allowed to smoke in like the hallway or something, just while I was on the phone, because you didn't have mobile phones.
Yeah.
And like, I'd be taking a piss like a true teenager. Like, I'd just be sat there smoking a spliff, and just didn't even like
sort of blatant with it. Like.
Yeah, and like, I look back on that, and that's one, like, the sort of thing which I look back on. I just think, you little cunt, like, because she's a really good woman, like, and she
it could be seen as being a bit disrespectful.
Yeah, it is, big time.
Know? But like, I wouldn't have done that in front of my parents. Simple fact, my old man would have clouted me. He would have given me a slap. My mother on the other hand, I never did
it before he died. See?
Exactly. So like, my mother, she was quite placid.
Yeah.
I could wind around my finger, sort of thing. 100%. So like, that's natural for a boy to do. If you think you can do it, you're gonna get away with it, and you know, especially at that age, you don't really know no better. You're still a kid.
Yeah, you're still learning.
Do you know what I mean? You're still learning.
100%. But yeah, the reason I asked about the parenting thing is because, like, I come across, like, obviously with them being different ages, I come across some parents, and they just don't have a clue what's going on, and they don't have a clue, like, kind of what they're getting up to and stuff like that. And they don't seem then, when stuff does happen, they don't seem like equipped to deal with it. Whereas with us, I feel like stuff's happened, and I've been fairly well equipped, if not to deal with it, to be able to like get through it or muddle through it because of stuff which happened to me over the years.
Yeah.
And it's kind of an interesting thing, innit? Because like, a lot of times, people who come from like working class areas, who maybe have got a history of taking drugs or addiction or whatever it may be, like crime, just getting into trouble generally when they were younger, they almost get like stigmatized as being, you know, shit, they're going to bring up their kids and they're going to be just as bad. And then,
yeah, exactly.
Like, and we had my oldest one really young, like, well, quite young. Like, my missus was only sort of 18, 19, and like, we was determined to not become like a statistic and
yeah, absolutely.
Like, you know, like single parents or whatever, and on benefits and stuff. No, I don't even necessarily think. I think that in itself gets a bit of a bad rap, like, because I think.
Oh, absolutely. The way the media portrays people who are struggling, you know, they're trying to make them out to be dirtbags, and that ain't the case.
Well, mate, me and my missus both had like really good jobs in an office, which I can't talk about the place, but in an office job, like good jobs. And we got married, and then 2 weeks later I had a car accident and ended up with like spinal injuries and spinal surgery, and I had spinal fusion. That's why I still walk with that.
No way.
And so we went from having 2 wicked jobs. She was pregnant, and we had like a 6 and a 4-year-old. So everything like being like got everything planned out. So then suddenly I was like, fucking hell.
Your life gets flipped
Yeah,
upside down.
lost my job because they can't wait forever.
Literally in the blink of an eye.
She's having to dress me and stuff like that, and it was brutal, mate. But like, that really changed my point of view, because I was like, if people would look at me now, they'd think, oh, he's on benefits and he's got 3 kids, and oh, look, they had him young and stuff like that. But like, that wasn't the case. It was just a thing which happened, which wasn't my fault, and it was what it was. Like, but yeah, I get frustrated with media, mate. Me. So
yeah, me too, man. Like, especially when you're looking at the people who are in power, the people who work in government and all that, and how they fiddle the system to feed their own needs. You know what I mean? And like, it's okay for them to do things. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But they're never portrayed bad in the media. It's always the little guy gets it. You know, it's wrong, man. And I could sit here all day going about this shit, bro. Honestly, I start getting on my soapbox. Yeah. You get me started now.
Mate, you only look at like, and I don't particularly have an opinion on either, but like, you look at the difference in coverage of Phillip Schofield when he's literally like, allegedly groomed some guy or some kid when he knew him when he was very young, and then he's got him a job and blah blah. It's at the very least like an abuse of power, isn't it? If you know a kid like that.
If you know a kid from that age, and then
you end up sleeping with him, and you've got him a job. It's something
in essence, it's grooming, isn't it? It's grooming. Whether that was a girl doing it or a boy doing it, it shouldn't be any different.
Shady, mate, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly, man. Under legal age is under legal age, like, you know, to like just to wait till they're legal, and you know, it's nonsense, man.
And then like in the media, within like 2 days of it coming out, you've got a picture of him and his mum and how upset his mum is because of all the shit he's getting, and
she's gonna be upset. Like,
yeah, of course, and he comparing himself to what's her name, Caroline Flack and stuff, and saying how he was gonna do this, and I was like, that didn't take long to turn around. Like, they slaughtered him for about a day, and then they're like playing the sympathy card, and then you look at what's called like the Tate brothers, who haven't been charged with a crime. And even now, like, they're labelled as, I think today in the papers, like, disgrace this, disgrace that, and it's like, it's a bit of a difference. Like, and I haven't particularly got an opinion on either, because I don't know what they've been up to.
No one knows what goes on behind closed doors, but
it's like,
I am a believer in innocent until proven guilty, at least.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? You can't be like dragging people's name through the dirt.
No. They've been under house arrest, like, or in a cell for like over a year now, and they still haven't. I think they charged them, didn't they, the other day? And it's like, you shouldn't be able to do that to anyone.
No, not until they're charged. At least, like, you know,
you shouldn't be able to like lock someone up and then go, oh yeah, we're just gonna hold you until we decide if we're gonna charge you, and then like whatever, and a few months later, it's like basically snatching someone off the street, isn't it?
Literally. It's like it's legal kidnapping. Right, yeah. It's as simple as that, man.
I don't know how we got that media, honestly. So like, back to you, because I'm conscious of the time and stuff. Like, so you got to the point where you're DJing, you're doing raves and stuff, and things are growing. So when did you go back towards like the hip hop side of things then?
Around about the same time, I was sort of juggling the two. So like, I was out DJing. Like, by about 98, I was DJing in like club tours for Dreamscape, One Nation up in Swindon, Brunel Rooms, Escape Club in Swansea. Like, you know, we were on a circuit by this sort of time, like, you know. And I just bought my first house. I got a job, like, you know, so I had a day job. I was working as a car mechanic for Vauxhall. So I got a mortgage, built a studio, and then I started having people around, like, you know, and making beats and all that. And then before you knew it, I had a bunch of mixtapes, and we're passing them around, and like, they're starting to get like good reception, you know, and people in the local areas like, oh, who are these guys? Where do these guys come from? Like, and so like, no one knew it was me, because I was like under an alias of Joe Blow. Everyone knew me as DJ Picton. Do you know what I mean? So like, I was using my real name to DJ and had the alias for the hip hop, like, you know. Okay. So it wasn't.
Was there a reason for that then? No, just.
No, not really. More to do with like being on benefits. At one point, I'd lost my job, and like, I remember I got pulled saying, "Oh, you're DJing, aren't you?" And I was like, oh shit, man. So then I went full Joe Blow on everything.
Yeah.
You know, you know.
Why Joe Blow?
It just stands for like average, everyday guy, normal guy. That's what it is in the dictionary. Like,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I thought that's sort of quite fitting, you know. So just run with it, like.
Yeah.
And in school they used to call me Joe Bob, you know, for Waltons.
Yeah.
Joe Bob, so it sort of changed, like it evolved into like Joe Blow from Joe Bob, you know.
I like it. What like who's when you look back at all the different things that you've done, who's like your favourite people who you've worked with, or like your favourite tunes or whatever it may be, like favourite nights that you've done?
My favourite parties, like, you know, when you look at what's going on now, like I started up doing the club promotions like way back in like the 90s, like 90. So I remember, think when the first one I put on probably would have been not long after Flinny was doing their shows down in Savoy. So it probably took in 95 I started doing nightclub promotions.
Okay.
And like doing our own events, but like we wasn't doing them regular. We put like one on or two on a year, like, you know. But like when the hip hop thing started happening, that sort of started taking back seat, like, you know, and we were working on doing the hip hop things and releasing albums and all this. So it wasn't until I'd say 2013, 2014 that I really came back strong on like the nightclub promotions, putting events on and booking DJs and getting all like the local talent to like come down and DJ as well. Because like what I wanted to do was build a platform for the local artists to shine. Because I was looking at the scene, I was going to nights, and it was the same people playing every week, or like, you know, locally. So I was like, there's so many more DJs like that are available that don't get the plays, like, you know. So I thought, fuck it, I'm gonna put on my own nights and get these guys out there. So that was the general idea, just to like, you know, build a platform for the scene, like, you know.
Do you reckon it's harder these days as well for like up and coming DJs, hip rappers, whatever? Because every scene, because of social media and because of YouTube and because of TikTok and all the different things on the internet now, every scene is flooded.
Yeah.
Like podcasts, music, whatever, everything is flooded because you can literally go in your house, go on a computer and pretty much put something together. And then if you get a bit more equipment, you can put them in a bit of higher quality together and so on. Like, it makes it more difficult, I think, doesn't it, to stand out.
It's saturated.
Yeah,
it is saturated, but the cream always rises to the top.
Yeah, I think
you know, and like if you're out playing in the clubs, it's not just down to mixing techniques. Obviously, it's nice to have nice mixing and everything, but you know, you can't teach someone how to like get a set together. Like, you know, this. What record to complement another record, and you know, these are all things you learn when you're out there, how to read the crowd, if the tunes are going down or if the tune's flopping, to put it off again, another one on quick, like, you know, and when you're feeding off the crowd, what's working for them, and keep feeding them with those sort of things. You know, you're reading the crowd, like, you know, you learn those things on the job, like, you know. So I think you can't just step in a club and be there, like, you know, be like, oh, look at me, I'm the number one DJ. So it's like, you know, like a lot of these TikTokers do. You know, they think there's someone before they're anyone, like, you know.
Yeah. Well, it's the internet
sort of like getting rushed through.
False sense of security.
Exactly,
like,
they're getting rushed through, man. Like if you're like you've got a gimmick about you, you're quick to blow up on the internet, sort of thing at the moment. That's how it's become. Like, you see, if they've got an internet following, say you've got, I don't know, 100,000 followers or something like that, the agents are like chasing after you to book you. You might be a shit DJ, you might be empty in the dance floor, but the promoter don't care because he's booking you just to get the head through the door, like, you know. And I've never been about that. I can see what's going on there, and like I book people. If they're gonna come and play a Circle 8, I book them on their own merits. I don't care how many followers they got. Do you know what I mean? I don't care how many people they bring to the club. It's nice if you do bring people, but it's a platform for people to shine, like, you know. So like, showcase your styles, showcase your talents, like, you know.
Do you go looking for new talents to bring in to your place, or?
I'm always looking about like mixed clouds, you know, always putting things up like competitions, win a set or our next event and all this sort of stuff. And like, you know, we've broke a lot of artists, like, you know, like you look back over the years, the people who have come through our stables, like, you know, Slim, the Sticky Lemons. Me and Slim, we worked together closely for years, like, you know, we used to do the radio sessions. like Traumatic come out the back of Sticky Lemons. Like, he's one of the biggest things that's ever come out of Cardiff in respects to drum and bass. Like, you know, I gave
He seems to keep growing as well.
Oh, absolutely. He got millions of followers, like, you know, he's smashing it. He cannot be cancelled, like, even though they've tried to cancel him, he cannot be cancelled. You can't cancel Traumatic. You got Endo. Endo's blowing up right now. So I mean, I gave him his first booking in Circle 8, like, you know. Scammer, he was my right hand man for years, like, you know. Me and him, we started out on the hip hop together. You know, we had Squid Ninjas together.
You know, as well.
Yeah, he's my brother, man. Do you know what I mean? My brother for life, Scammer. You know, so a lot of people have like sort of broke off the back of our movement, like, you know, within the scene over the years, like, you know.
Yeah, he's doing a different thing now, isn't he? He's doing all the classes and
you know, he's doing his coaching,
coaching people and that.
Doing really well. He is doing that, but he's still doing his drum and bass and that. Yeah, I know he's got some things dropping. I think he's got some things coming out on D&B All Stars pretty soon. He's going to be dropping a track with myself as well on my next album I'm dropping, along with Traumatic on the same track. So yeah, there's plenty of bits to look forward to, like, you know.
I keep trying to get Traumatic, and he's just not having it at all. I knew that was going to be the case, like, you know.
You've
got to ask, innit? You don't ask, you don't get. You never know, like. So, funny enough, like, I was listening to South Wales Most Wanted the other day, and I might even be remembering this wrong, so bear with me. Did you get like a bit of grief about the cover of that?
Yeah, I did get a bit of grief from
I thought you did, but I couldn't remember, so I thought I'll ask you.
From a certain group of females who I'm not even going to mention their name, man. I don't want to give them any props, you know. But they've been trying to blackball me for a while, and this is literally off the back of me being a promoter and people getting pissed off because I haven't booked them for an event. So then they want to run my name through the mud, like, you know, and say that I'm not inclusive, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that, you know. And like, it's ironic because one of the people who slagged me out was someone who used to be a resident in Circle 8, and it was just the fact that obviously I'm giving other people a chance. I can't book the same people all the time. They've taken umbrage to that, like, you know, and started running my name through the mud, sort of thing. So that's where that came from. Right, obviously, I put the cover out. I felt the cover was totally in context with what the track was about. You know, it was a metaphor. Yeah. It was a metaphor. It's called South Wales Most Wanted, meaning, you know, the most wanted MCs in the booth. Do you know what I mean? That sort of thing. And we sort of linked it up with being most wanted on a wanted poster. The fact that I'd used my prison card pissed them off. They were trying to think that, hang on, why is he using his prison card on the front? Is he trying to glorify going to jail and all that? And that's absolutely what wasn't that whatsoever. Yeah. Like, it was just like it was fitting with a wanted poster. So I had a mug shot there, so I used it. Do you know what I mean? And like, they were saying, oh, it's fucking disgusting. Someone that's been to jail for GBH shouldn't be running the nights and letting our children go to these events when they're run by violent people, this, that and the other. He broke some guy's eye socket, blah, blah, blah. Just dragging my name through the dirt, like, and they're all bigging themselves up, going, high five, sister, and all this shit, man. Do you know what I mean? It's like, fuck off with that bullshit, man. Do you know what I mean? There's a reason you're not getting booked, and that's because you're whack. Do you know what I mean? And that's that, plain and simple, man. Do you know what I mean? Get your skills together, you get more bookings. Do you know what I mean? Be undeniable. If you're undeniable, you're going to get booked. End of, like, you know? So
it's a weird thing, though, because, like, you're not the first person to use, like, prison card on an album.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
I could probably, off the top of my head, name about 10.
Exactly.
You know? Just like, from different genres of music. Like,
exactly,
lots of people have done it.
Yeah.
In fact, I'd say it goes as far as say, like, most bands, rappers, MCs, whatever, if they do end up having some trouble with the law, the next album they bring out is on there.
Yeah. It's your life. It's, you know,
part of what you've been through, isn't it?
It's part of what you've been through, like, you know, I'm not big in a prison. Prison's a mugs game. If you're in and out of prison, it's muggy, like, you know, you should be looking to go places in life and not fucking sitting in the cell doing 23-hour banger for a year or whatever, like, you know, it's no life. No. It's no life. I'm not trying to glorify that, like, you know, and that's what they were trying to make out. They were trying to make out the, you know, I'm bigging up that sort of thing, like, I'm trying to glorify it and all that, and that wasn't the case whatsoever, like, you know. Anyone that knows me personally will know I'm not like that, like, you know. I'm not out in the streets fighting, getting into trouble, all this sort of shit. It just so happened that I got into an altercation, and the other guy come worse off, and they threw the book at me, you know, and that's just the way it is, like, you know.
Yeah.
But it's an occupational hazard when you're working on the doors, when you're running events.
When you're working late tonight.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's always trouble in clubs and stuff like that. You know, it was a fight in the club. I tried to split it up. They turned on me. I ended up getting into the scrap with them. I ended up getting hurt. You know, obviously I had duty of care as someone who's a bouncer, someone who's running nights, this, that, and the other. So they did throw the book at me, like. But it was either do 5 years, you know, go to court, go trial, might get found guilty, might get found not guilty, like, you know, or go guilty and just do 12 months. You know, do you want to take the risk of going to jail for 5 years, or you just take 12 months and just go guilty? Do you know what I mean? And that's the way the system sort of backed me into the corner, like.
Yeah.
You know, I could have took the risk on a court, run it through the jury. The jury might have had a beef with someone in the past, you know, like a bouncer that's given them an ID, so they don't like bouncers.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
You know, so like, I'm relying on that guy to keep my freedom, you know? It's like, I wasn't going to take that gamble, man, you know? I wasn't going to take
But you
the
know
gamble.
as well, I'll ask you about that now, actually, but like, just in terms of, I think sometimes, how can I say this without sounding like a sexist pig? I don't think sometimes that females understand the kind of the aggression that men come up against in town and in pubs and in clubs, both like passive aggressively and when it kicks off, like, and it's something which I worry about with my oldest boy because he works in town now. He's 18. He works in a hotel, so he's
same
working
age
late,
as my boy.
and he
So it's
rides
that
his
age,
bike
innit?
home, and it's like because he's massive as well. He's like 6'2", and it's like so he looks older.
He's a target, like.
And he was working there when he was like 16, 17 as well. And I was like, you don't look like you're 16, so they won't necessarily go, oh, he's just a kid.
He's just a kid.
You bump into him
won't
or
get a
whatever.
pass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes people, I wouldn't say just females, and people generally don't realise like the threat of aggression, which you've got to deal with. Like as you grow up, especially into your 20s and 30s, I think, like for me now, I don't really have to deal with it because I don't go out in town and that. But like, if you're out, you know, promoting nights and doing stuff, it's always there.
It's always there, man. I was on the doors on and off, putting nightclubs, events on and all that for best part of over 20 years, like. You know, so like I got some stories I can tell you about things kicking off in clubs and stuff. Like, you know, I've been bottled, I've had my head split open, my nose broke. You know, I've had eye-ins, I've given eye-ins. You know, it's.
I bet you a high percentage of those were unavoidable, mate, as well.
What can you do when it kicks off and you're right in the thick of it? You know, and like, you know, you've got to try and de-escalate it and shut it down the best you can. Like, you know,
can't just leave it, can you?
You can't. Yeah, exactly. It's just because the club's gonna get smashed to bits. You got to try and sort it out somehow, haven't you? Like, you know.
So when you said you took the 12-month, yeah.
Yeah.
What was that like?
It wasn't great, obviously. Like, you know, no one wants to go to prison. Like, you know, Cardiff prison is a smelly old place. Like, you know, it's fucking stinks of piss. Like, you know, it's stinking. There was cockroaches in my cell in the night, sort of thing. You know, it was fucking nasty. Like, you know, but I think the worst thing about it was it happened when all the COVID shit was going on. Like, so we were on bang up 23 hours, 30 minutes a day. So you're stuck in a cell, like, you know, and like it's just you, yourself, and your thoughts. You know, for months on end.
Day, like,
for months on end, like, you know, and obviously after I'd been there a while, shout out to my boy TJ, and Grano, they got me on a work party, so like I managed to get a job, and after a while, after having a job, then you become enhanced, you know, so then I become an enhanced prisoner, and I got moved off the shitty B wing onto the nice fresh D wing, like, you know, and you were allowed to have your cell doors open and walk around the wing, sort of thing, like, so you have privileges, you have PlayStation and all that, like, you know, when you're on a lower level, do you know what I mean? When I was on B wing, like, you weren't allowed PlayStations and all that sort of shit, like, you know, so it got better as the sentence went on, so to speak, like, you know, even down to having a quilt. Like, I was on a work party and Mr. Wales gave me a quilt, you know, and a nice pillow rather than the shitty itchy blanket, like, you know. Like, I was boring.
All the stuff you take for granted.
All the stuff you take for granted, man. Like, I know when I got home, obviously seeing my kids and my family and my missus first, that was the first thing. But then I would just be walking around looking at the sky and like going to get a paper in the morning and a bottle of milk because I can.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And appreciating it.
Especially because you were in over COVID as well. You had no outside real time.
Exactly.
You're just in that cell.
Yeah, man.
So I suppose because you were in the cell like 23.5 hours a day or whatever, you also didn't have to deal with other people as much.
Yeah, not so much. Yeah, not so much. Obviously, I did get a cellmate in the end, like, you know, my boy Dave from up Essex, man. Big up all my Essex crew. B34. Yeah, man. So like, we done a lot of the sentence together, me and Dave, like, you know, and like me and him become best mates. He's like my family now, like, you know. We done our time together. We done our time together, like, you know, and like I made some good friends in there, like, you know. I've kept in touch with them since I come out, you know, because you find out who the real ones are and who the dickheads are.
When shit goes bad, mate. When shit goes bad, you always find out.
You know who your friends are. People who's sending you in money, who's writing to you to see how you are when you're in there, like, you know. Like a lot of people who I thought were my friends, I was like, Ras. And the people who surprised me sending in letters and money and things like that, I was like, Ras, man, do you know what I mean? So like, I've sort of come out and like refocused, you know.
Get your circle smaller.
That's it, my circle's a lot smaller.
Yeah.
Trust me, it is, yeah, my circle's a lot smaller. You find out who the hangers are on are, like, you know, and obviously when you can do things for people, everyone wants to be your mate, like.
Yeah,
so if I'm gonna get you a set in the vaults or whatever, everyone's like being my best mate, buying me drinks all night, and do you know what I mean? Just got their tongue up your ass sort of thing, like, you know, and like I can see who those people are, I can see them a mile off, like, you know.
Do you think like what you've been through with that side of things, if you were in the same situation now where you were breaking up a fight, do you reckon you'd do it any different?
I probably wouldn't go as mad. I think when I lost it, because I got hurt, I sort of like the red mist come down. Right?
Yeah.
Just went into mad mode, like, you know. I think I'd be a bit more reserved now. But there's no chance of me ever going back on the doors, ever. They took my license off me anyway, so legally I couldn't do it, you know. But I wouldn't want to be in that situation anymore now. So whenever I put in events on, I hire people to do the security rather than putting my own boys in there, you know, and doing it myself. So if it pops off now, it's down to those boys to sort it out, you know.
Gotta learn, haven't you?
Gotta
like,
learn, innit?
Yeah, 100%. Like, because that's what happens, isn't it? Like, again, like to bring my kids in again, I say to them all the time, like, you're gonna make mistakes and shit's gonna happen, and sometimes that shit's gonna be bad.
Yeah.
But you gotta deal with it, and then you gotta just make sure it don't happen again.
Well, that's
or
it.
You gotta learn from it.
Well, yeah. Well, you know, COVID was happening as well, and like no one was sure about when the clubs were going to open up properly again and where we were going to go. So I just come out and sort of refocused, and that's when I got in touch with Fordy, my old-time partner, and I was like, listen, man, I want to start a hip-hop record label. You know, I want to go do something, build a platform, hip-hop in Wales, like, you know. So that's when we opened up Veteran Records as soon as I got out, and started releasing records and signing artists to our label then, like, you know, and working through it, like, you know. So there was a lot of positive because I had a lot of time in there to think and plan what I was going to do, and I got out and all that, and I sort of made a list, and that was the plan, like, you know. So obviously with regards to putting events on and things like that, we haven't got back to where we were before COVID kicked in, like, you know, because I think a lot of people had a bit of a rough time, you know, business-wise, financially. You know, I don't think the nightlife is back like it was before. You know, I think it's more of a risk to put an event on now than what it was back then. Because it was popping before COVID, like, you know, like we were selling the vaults out, like we were turning people away on the door, like, you know, like I think we had DJ Zinc in room 2. Do you know what I mean? That place was bound to sell out, like we had 360, Nicky Black Market, all that in room 1. I think like we gone well over what they were allowed to have in the club, like I'm sure the bouncers were like clicking people out when they were coming in, you know, just to ram the club out sort of thing, like, you know. But yeah, like the vaults gets hot, man. Like it was hotter than hell down there. It was like sweat dripping off the ceilings and that, like it was unbelievable, like. But yeah, that was probably one of the best parties we did pre-COVID, like, you know.
Yeah, I don't. COVID changed everything, didn't it? Like in terms of just nights, I don't think it's back to the same as it was.
No, it's
Everywhere
not.
is like
It's not back. Nowhere like it was, man.
and just to think it was all just a test to see if they could control us.
Definitely. I'm glad you believe that, man. And you can see
It's
through
what
the
it is,
bullshit,
mate, isn't it?
like, you know? Yeah. Literally, it's all about control.
Yeah.
It's
And
about
they'll do
control.
something else will happen in the next year. I
Yeah.
guarantee you. Something else
100%,
will happen, and they'll try and do something. So we're literally on to the last couple of minutes now, mate. What would you like to do? Like, where would you like to see like Veteran Records and you, Joe Blow, everything? Like, next sort of 5-10 years, what's the aims for you?
I'm just going to keep on doing what we've always done. You know, we're going to put on events. We've got more events lined up for this year. I was speaking to Jack Frost about the, he's got a bus. It's basically a bus that's going to drive around Cardiff with a system fitted in it. And he's going to come down and DJ with Brian G. And we're going to do a launch night for his new room, his V Recordings room. And we're going to do the after party then in one of the local clubs, probably Bar Rock.
Nice.
Big up Kevin. Yeah, so that's the next thing for Circulate. And, you know, just keep on putting on more parties. And with regards to the label, obviously, we got Veteran Records, that's the hip-hop base now. But like, we've also doing Circulate Records, where we're going to start looking for artists on the drum and bass front and releasing music there too, like, you know. So I just want to be there as a platform for the area, for Wales, you know, on a whole, and so they can come to us as like a place where they can shine, you know, and get seen and discovered, sort of thing, like, you know, because it's lacking in Wales. It's always been lacking.
Promotion is lacking in Wales, mate.
Absolutely.
I think we do
Venues
a shit
are lacking.
job, mate, of promoting our talent, whether it's fighters, whether it's rappers, whether, like, we got some of the real top talent in music, in sport, and you got to fight, like, places like BBC Wales, say Sport or something. You got to fight them to get like people attention, and it just shouldn't be like we just. I think Wales does a bad job of promoting its own talent. Like, if people like you look at people like, say, Merkage, right? If Merkage lived in Birmingham or Manchester or London, he would already be fucking like worldwide massive.
Absolutely.
And he's he's big anyway. Like,
yeah,
he would be bigger and he would have got there quicker.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But it's just, and there's loads of others as well.
Oh, like a local, like, you know, local should be on the radio every day. Do you know what I mean? You should turn the radio on, be driving around in a car, 9 o'clock in the morning, drive time show, whatever. Boom, local should be on the radio. Do you know what I mean? Because like, that's the sort of music he makes. It's, you know, we got a lot of talent here, a lot of talent, like, you know, beneath the surface, and I just think it needs to be pushed out on a platform, like, you know.
Yeah, that's why I like speaking to people like from all different, you know, music, football, cricket, whatever, fighting, just anything. Like, particularly I seem to have had a lot of like musicians or rappers or whatever and fighters on. But like I enjoy speaking to people like and hearing their story, and then hopefully like shine a bit of a light on what they're doing with themselves as well.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
You know? But if you send me the links like to all just different stuff.
Yeah,
like Veteran Records and Circulate and whatever, and I'll put it all in the description below. Joe Blow, ladies and gentlemen, please do subscribe, like, all that good stuff on the channel, and have a look at all the links below for the Joe Blow stuff.
There you go.
Thank you, mate.
Nice one, my man.
I love the Welsh clan, so I came on a visit. Stayed with it, got bars so exquisite. The lizard, too explicit, complicit. Mess with my crew, I'ma pay you a visit. I'll go to the extreme, no limits. Certain man put the mic down, you ain't with it. Don't introduce me to your girl, I'ma kick it. Get the digits, don't even care she's a midget. Fuck every other rapper on this track. Fact, I'm not Mr. Go hit you in the die. Snap every fucking bone in your body. Dick dastardly, just relapse. Super cunt, currently in your mum's cunny like Bugs Bunny. Took the wrong turn at Albuquerque. Moist and murky, walls